But I think right now to focus on what happens between now, mid-August of 2025, and next July 4th. So the relevance is it's really important for the 30% tax credit. So one piece, the first wave of what will happen in terms of kind of like the segmented nature of the how the new tax credits, what the change in the legislation did to them will take effect. So if you start a project today, anytime after July 4th of 2025, but you do it before July 4th of 2026, then you have the benefit of an early capture of the 30% investment tax credit. And that's critical. And that is the 30% credit that we've been talking on this podcast and other podcasts have discussed for years. And this is the important 30% that has been sticking around for the last 4 years. And before that, for a number of years before that, before it was ultimately renominated in 2022. So we're at 30% again now if a project starts July 4th, 2025. And as long as you've started a project and you don't have to complete it by July 4th, 2026, but if you've done 5% of the work and invested 5% of the money, basically 5% of the money is maybe it could be more than 5% of the work, but if you've invested 5% of the cost of the project between now and next July 4th, then not only do you secure the 30% tax credit for the life of the project, so in other words, you would get the 30% for the full value of what it costs to do the project, the hardware, the implementation, the engineering, the legal, everything, and the construction. All pieces of it. So the 30% applies off the top of what the total project cost is, and a customer would be entitled to recover that as a tax incentive, and it wouldn't just have to be immediate, and the project doesn't have to be done by the end of 2026 or the end of 2027, which is also the new deadline of 2027, December 31st. That if you and I'll explain that in a minute, but essentially, as long as you start a project between now, the middle of August 2025, and July 4th of 2026, you have an additional 4 years to complete that project and still retain the 30% tax credit. That's an early window to protect it, and it also gives you the latitude if you needed more time, whether it's for one reason or another, whether you couldn't get the hardware in time or something else. As long as you start that project and do 5% of the work and invest 5% of the cost, then you will have an additional 4 years to complete that project and still get the 30%. That's relevant, it's important, and it's the most important to take advantage right now.